Hello. Hey guys, it's UnoRaccoon here, again, with another video today. Well, first of all, I have human arms today because it's very, very warm and I would just melt if I tried to wear sleeves with this. And I also can't open the window because the neighbours are cutting the grass and it's really loud. Also, apologies if I sound a bit out of breath during this video. As I said, it's very warm, kind of melting, and I've just been kind of scrambling to get everything together for this video so that I don't spend too much time messing about and missing things out. The kind of stuff that normally happens to me. So how is everyone? I hope you're all doing well. It's very warm at the moment, we can't really go anywhere still in lockdown. So I thought today I'd make another video. In my last video, well actually in a few of my previous videos, I said I wanted to make a video kind of showing all of my fursuits, all my own fursuits. So I thought I'll do that today. So I'm going to split this video into two parts because I do have quite a lot of them and they all have kind of a little bit of a backstory, so I'm not going to take too long. But I do want to talk a little bit about each one. I'm going to go in like a chronological order, so starting with the very, very first suits I made and ending with the most recent ones, which actually this one is the most recent one, but I'll talk about this one a bit later. So one thing that I kind of just want to clarify, I know a lot of people are going to be saying like, oh, how come you have so many fursuits? Like, surely you don't need that many fursuits. And yeah, it's true, I don't need that many fursuits, but there's kind of two reasons why I have as many as I have. So firstly, I mostly make all my own suits, so it took me quite a long time to build up the confidence to actually do commissions and feel confident enough in my work to sell it to other people. So I made a lot of suits for myself just to practice and try new things and teach myself how to actually make fursuits to a standard that would be suitable for commissions. So a lot of these were practice suits that I kind of used for myself. I would make my own characters and then I didn't want to sell them on because they were my own characters. And also a lot of the older ones are not really a good enough standard to be sold on, they're just kind of practice suits. And the second reason is when I was first kind of finding myself, my kind of character and my kind of persona and stuff, I went through a lot of different phases of different characters, and I'm a very, very, very indecisive person in general. Like, I like a lot of different things, a lot of different themes, lots of different animals, so it was always hard for me to decide and just settle on one persona and one fursuit, which is why I had quite a lot. These days I don't get as much time to wear them as I'd like. I only tend to wear them in videos or at fur meets or occasionally conventions, although I do a lot more puppetry kind of stuff now. So these days I probably don't need this many fursuits, but you know, I like having them. I like to use them for videos, so. Anyway, let's get on with the video. This is part one of my kind of progress in making fursuits, all the suits that I own myself. First of all, I just want to say I'm sorry that I don't have a great backdrop for this. I just pinched this blanket from elsewhere. This is the best it's going to get at the moment, similar to the puppet video. I don't have a lot of space, to be honest, and I don't have a lot of kind of decent backdrops for videos, so hopefully this isn't too bad. It already looks way more creased than it does in real life, but yeah, hopefully this is fine. So, let's begin. So, first of all, I'm going to show you all the very, very first fursuit that I ever made. And this one, it's kind of going to be proof that anyone can really improve over time. So this guy right here was my very, very first fursuit head. His name's Zippy. He's an old character of mine. He's not really much of an active character anymore, to be honest. The last time I drew him or did anything with him was probably when I made this suit. So I made this guy in 2013. I was 15 at the time, so still a kid basically. Random cotton on him. That was when I very first found the fandom, first got into fursuiting. I really, really wanted a fursuit, but at the time I was in high school, I didn't have a job, and I knew that my parents would not be okay with me spending thousands of pounds on an animal costume. So yeah, so I'd learned to make my own. So at the time there were very, very, very few tutorials on fursuit making. I think there was one really old website. There was no YouTube videos, or not many YouTube videos, no tutorials, so I pretty much figured it out myself. As you can see, it's very bad. There's no kind of profile on him, so he looks really weird. There's no ventilation whatsoever. The foam is just kind of exposed inside. It's very hard to breathe out of, very hard to see out of. The eyes were coloured with markers. The nose and teeth are made out of clay, which is kind of weird. He used to have different eyes which were made out of nets, which looked even worse. But I changed his eyes like a month after I made him. For some reason I thought he needed a zip, when really he didn't need a zip, you can still wear him without. So yeah, this guy was my very first one. Kind of embarrassing, to be honest, but I did wear him out a few times. I wore him on Halloween, on Goth Weekend. First time I went to Goth Weekend I wore him. I wore him to a small convention in Leeds as well. So yeah, he's really awful. It's kind of cringy to look back on, but to be honest, you know, you have to start somewhere. And this kind of, I suppose the purpose of this video is to kind of show that, you know, you can start anywhere. So like, this was my very first one. And I didn't think that like several years later I would be making them for a living. So yeah, never give up. So yeah, that's Zippy. He's supposed to be a dog-bat hybrid, but most people think he's a bunny, so that's fine. Yeah. So, second fursuit I ever made. I started this guy in 2013, I was 15. Finished him very early 2014. This guy's Dorian. Anyone who knows me might actually recognise this character. He's still very much an active character. He's my secondary fursona next to Uno. Yeah, he's a wolf-deer hybrid. I made him after I made Zippy, basically just to practice more because I kind of figured out how to make a fursuit with ventilation and how to do the eyes properly and how to actually make it have a profile and look somewhat decent. As I said, he's my secondary fursona. His colours are kind of, at the time they were the colours I had left, but they're also very much supposed to be kind of a gothy, kind of punk sort of alternative look because I'm really into that myself and I wanted to have a fursona that could represent that kind of alternative style and alternative music that I like and that kind of thing. So he's still a character that I can connect with a lot today. Obviously I made him in 2013, I wore him at Goth Weekend, wore him to MTM Birmingham. I think it was Birmingham, yeah. Didn't take him to any meets, I don't think I went to any fur meets at that time. I was still very young. But yeah, he was my second ever suit and to be honest, looking at him now, he isn't that bad. Like, there's a lot of problems with him, like the fact that the seams are just glued. It's really hard, it just feels really hard. And the antlers are made out of paper mache, which is a terrible idea, so never do that. But he isn't too bad for a second attempt. I was really, really proud of him at the time, and he is still a character that is very dear to me. So I'll always keep this one, I think, even though I'll never wear it again. I'm never going to get rid of this, just because it has a lot of good memories, and he's still a character that is very dear to me. So he has clay teeth, his tongue is made out of foam, there's no lining. I didn't learn how to line fursuits until I started making them professionally. Again, he had a clay nose, eyes are coloured with markers, and they're made out of craft foam, which is not the best way, but I will say if you're like a young maker, beginner maker, there's nothing wrong with using craft foam for the eyes, to be honest, because even though you wouldn't do that on a professional fursuit that you were going to sell or do on commission, it isn't that bad for one that you're just going to wear yourself. A lot of my learning, because it took me a long time to feel confident in doing commissions, a lot of things like gluing seams, making a clay nose, colouring with markers on the suits, it's all stuff that I feel like you can kind of get away with when you're young if you're not going to sell them, if you're just going to wear them yourself. So yeah, I made this guy, and then after this guy, or kind of around the same time that I made this guy, I made a suit for my friend, which I'll put a picture of here. Obviously she's got that at the moment, so I don't have it to show, but that one was very, very similar in like methods of making and quality as this guy. That's Dorian, he's my second ever fursuit. Yeah. So this guy here, this is my third ever fursuit, this is Sydney. Again, if you know me, you might know this character, he's still very, very much an active character. Originally he was supposed to be like a third fursona, but then I kind of felt like I couldn't really connect with him very much, so I made him into just a character and not a fursona. So he's actually the main star of a comic series that I'm working on, that I actually was working on last night, to be honest, and want to do more of. So he's got a very complex story, whereas my other characters don't have much of a backstory, they're more just fursonas or characters. But he actually has a very complex kind of world that he lives in. So yeah, I'm working on his comic. I'm going to get that online at some point. But yeah, that's going off track. So yeah, on camera, actually, he looks pretty decent. But to be honest, when you look closely, you can kind of see where I was still gluing seams. It's kind of yellowed over time, which is really awful. Yeah, I didn't line him. I still didn't know how to do linings. I made the tongue out of fleece, which isn't a good idea because it kind of wears away. He's very worn. His ear stretchers are made out of cotton reels, but obviously I put like a paper design on, which kind of got wrecked in the rain. His hair's made out of yarn. I still quite like that, although that took me a long, long time to do. All his seams are glued, which again is something that I feel like a lot of young makers do, and can get away with if you're just going to wear it yourself. But obviously, as you professionally make suits, or you want to make suits that are more high quality and durable, you need to learn how to sew the seams. Again, he's got foamy eyes, but I actually painted the eyes this time, so that was slightly an upgrade. I was learning how to paint eyes. I do like the shiny nose, although that kind of wore off over time. Generally, he's just very, very worn out. I did get a lot of use out of him. I wore him to Manchester MCM when he was new, and then I wore him to my first ever fur meet, which was the Leeds fur meet, which I still go to nowadays. Well, not right now in lockdown, but would still be going to. He had a lot of outings, I wore him a lot, but I think it was around 2015 that I kind of stopped connecting with him. It was just kind of weird, like, I don't know, I mean, there was a lot of confusion about like who the character is supposed to be, because to me, I created him because I'm really into the 80s. I love the 80s aesthetic and the music, and I was really getting into that at the time, so I wanted a character that could represent that. So I made him very neon, like the pink and blue, neon pastel kind of 80s cartoon, 80s music sort of like kind of character, which is what he's supposed to be. He's like a surfer dude sort of skater character. But at the time, like obviously the 80s nostalgia theme is really popular now with things like Stranger Things, Ready Player One, stuff like that. It's just in general, it's very popular now, like the retro feel. But at the time it wasn't really. This was I was kind of into it before it was a thing, which is makes me sound like I'm trying to make a point or something, but I'm not. I was just something that I was into. But people didn't really get that, and I think there was a lot of confusion. Like people were like, oh, he's a really girly kind of character just because he has the hearts on his ears and stuff. But at the time, I was just like, I was a little bit insecure at the time, to be honest, because there's nothing wrong with that, but I was just kind of like, no, he's supposed to be like a 80s kind of cool sort of character. And at the time, I just kind of lost connection with him because of that, because I felt like he wasn't being portrayed in the way that I wanted him to be, which sounds so stupid, honestly, now, but at the time, that was just how I felt. I was a kid and I didn't really understand. But now he's an active character. He's in my comic series. I'm going to get that up soon. I will tell you all about it later on. Well, I say soon, but it's going to be a while because I haven't started it properly yet. But I'll talk more about my comic series with him in soon. And yeah, I still really like the character. Now that I can kind of portray him in the way that I want to. But I'll probably never wear this suit again purely because it's very worn out. And I don't know if it even fits me anymore. I haven't put it on since like 2016. So yeah, that's Sydney. There's a lot of story to him, but hopefully that was interesting. So he's my 80s kind of cool kid, stereotypical neon retro guy. So again, anyone who knows me or knows of my characters might recognise this guy, or might recognise the later version of this guy. This is Crimson, he's a bat. I made him after I made Sydney. So I made Sydney in the summer, and I made Crimson in the autumn of 2014. So Crimson, again, he was a character similar to Dory, and I wanted to portray the kind of alternative, kind of emo-ish look, because I always feel really nostalgic for that kind of thing, and I really like the alternative music. Obviously, I go to Goth Weekend, I go to a lot of concerts and stuff. I wanted a character that I could wear at Goth Weekend, because obviously Sydney I couldn't really wear at Goth Weekend because he's bright and pink and colourful. So I made Crimson. So I kind of wanted a character that had that contrast of black and white, so like black hair and sort of red eyes, black eyeliner, kind of white, so it looked a bit more striking. So he's a bat, he's a northern ghost bat to be precise. They look very much like him in real life. I'll put a picture of one right here. So yeah, again, his hair's made out of yarn, which I wouldn't recommend doing just because it takes a long time, but it does look pretty cool. He's very squished and he's very mucky, but I don't plan on wearing him again. It doesn't matter because no one's going to wear him now. He had a foam tongue, which looks really weird. He's got snake bites made out of little beads. His eyebrow piercings are key rings, and his ear piercings are also key rings. He's got a safety pin in that ear. So yeah, he's still an active character. I have a new version of him, which I'll show a bit later on, which is in some of my other older videos. Go as a full suit. I still have his original body, I think. I think I still have it, I don't know, actually. But yeah, full suits are very hard for me to make. It kind of stresses me out, which is why I don't really deal with them very often. But he had a full suit, and his new version has a full suit, which I'm actually really happy with. That is in another video that's on my channel. So I'm not going to show that today, but I will show his newer head probably in part 2. So yeah, Crimson was, he's an emo kind of bat, spooky bat. So again, he's not lined. He just sits on my shelf, no one's going to wear him, as I said. He had a few outings, again, he went to a few conventions, a few meets and stuff. I met a few of my friends with him when I first started making friends in the steampunk community, because I used to wear him at steampunk events. So yeah, that's Crimson. Very squished and weird, very tight to wear, not very comfortable, but yeah, that's Crimson. So, this guy was the fifth, is it? Yeah, the fifth fursuit. I can't count apparently. The fifth fursuit I ever made. This is Sai. He was the first suit that I kind of started to use Instagram with, because Instagram is my favourite social media platform. And I made this guy when furries were kind of first a big thing on Instagram. And he was pretty well received. I also had some people saying kind of mean stuff about him because he has one eye. He's a Cyclops cat. So he's a one-eyed cat. When I made him, I wanted to do a one-eyed fursuit. I'd never seen a one-eyed fursuit. I know now there's quite a few of them. I see them around on Instagram and online. But at the time, I'd never seen another one. So I don't want to say that he's the first one because I don't know how accurate that is. And I don't want people to start thinking that I'm trying to say that I invented the idea, which I definitely didn't because it's a pretty basic idea. But he could have been, what I'm trying to say is he could have been the first Cyclops fursuit, but I don't know because maybe there was one that there was no pictures of or something. But yeah, I made him in 2015, so I was either 16 or 17 at the time. 17, I think. Again, he's not lined, he's not that well made, although I was starting to learn how to sew some of the seams. Still glued here, but he's sewn on his face. He's got a little gem on his head, he's got kind of space ears, space nose, he's got a keyring as his nose ring again. Clay teeth, and yeah, he's got little stars on his ears and a little ear stretcher thing made out of clay. Originally he had just green and red hair, but then I changed it to rainbow later on because the green and red hair was kind of rushed and it was coming off, so I thought I'd give him a cool rainbow mohawk. So now as a character, he's still an active character. He kind of has like optional hairstyles, so he can have rainbow or he can have different colours. So at the time I was in college, we were doing like a lot of different art movements, so like surrealism and stuff, and I was really into it. And I wanted to make a character that kind of went with that kind of surreal vibe or really weird kind of retro-futuristic vibe. I always have kind of a meaning behind my suits. I'm very weird with my inspirations. So it's very retro-futuristic. If you look at like 1950s or 1970s sci-fi artwork, he was very inspired by that and by surrealism. Yeah, he's still an active character. I was thinking of remaking the head, but to be honest, I don't really have the time or the space for more fursuits. I'd love to be this character again, but I mean, I could still wear this head, although it's a bit small and it's not lined. He was the first character that I was kind of a little bit more confident with. I used to be able to do his voice. I'm not going to do it right now, but I did used to do his voice. He was the only character that I could voice act for, and I used to like have a lot of fun with that. So he was a really important character to me because I used to have so much fun like just being him and doing his voice and saying the weird stuff that he would come out with because he's very weird and surreal and he would just come out with random stuff. Yeah, maybe if I ever start doing any kind of like skits and stuff, I'm not very confident in that kind of thing. I'm more of a maker than an actor or performer. If I ever start doing that kind of stuff, maybe I'll bring him back as a character who has like an actual voice because I had a lot of fun with him back in the day of 2015. That makes me sound really old. I'm not that old, I promise. Yeah, so he was the fifth fursuit that I ever made in 2015. He was very well received. Some people didn't like him, but to be honest, I don't really care. I liked him. My friends liked him. That's the main thing that I care about. So yeah, that's Sai. So, following up from the second fursuit I ever made, early 2016, I remade Dorian, who obviously I already mentioned, he's my secondary fursona. I wanted a new head of him just because the old one was old, and I'd improved a lot. This is Dorian 2.0. So I spent a lot of time on him, I put a lot of effort into him at the time. He's definitely far from perfect. He looks better on the outside than he does on the inside. Inside is not lined and honestly it's falling apart, like the jaw kind of just drops down like that now. And also there's a piece of glue on the inside that gives me a headache when I wear him. So I'm probably not going to wear him anymore. I really would do if he was still comfortable inside, but he's really not. So I'll probably either remake him or that'll be it for him, but he's still an active character, as I said. I would like to remake him because I still connect with this character a lot. I would like to be him again. It took me a long time because I wanted to put a lot of effort in. I was still learning how to kind of professionally make a suit. He's not professional, but he's decent. So he does have antlers, like the original. It's part of his character. Although he's like a semi-shapeshifter as his character, so he can grow antlers or he can not have antlers and look more like a wolf. Or he can have different coloured antlers. So I actually use bottle tops. You can see them on the top and on the end of the antlers, so they're screw on. I'm not going to put them both on right now because I don't want to spend ages But there is an old video of him back on my channel that shows me taking off and putting on the antlers. So the other one is here, so you can get the idea they would look like that. They were made out of a vinyl fabric. I was really, really happy with him at the time. I still quite like how he looks, it's just that he's uncomfortable to wear. Again, he's got foam eyes, which I don't recommend for professional fursuits, but obviously this one was just mine. It was only me who was going to wear it, so it didn't really matter. Again, he's got yarn hair, which took me an awful long time because he has a lot of hair. Yeah, he's got hair on the back as well, as his character has. Like, more like a human-like hair, I guess, rather than just like a hair tuft. He has a removable tongue, it's Velcro, so that comes out. I've got the other one somewhere. Obviously the original version had a green tongue, so I do have his green tongue for this one as well. But it's I think somewhere in my studio, I don't know where. Probably went up the vacuum cleaner or something like that. He actually has glow-in-the-dark teeth, although I don't think you can really see them right now because it's daylight. He's got some glitter in his eyes because I wanted to make him all sparkly. Sparkly vinyl he is. He's got his markings, like his little combat stripe things. He's got his X's on his ears. He was actually a full suit. I do have his bodysuit, but I'm really not good at making full suits, to be honest. I made a digigrade suit for him, but it was very heavy. It would take like all my energy to get into the suit, and then I would just be exhausted, and I'd need like someone to help me get into it. And also, like, if I was going to a fur meet, I'd have to carry it on the bus or whatever, which is just a lot of hassle. But yeah, so I wore him as a partial mostly. I'm not going to show all the partial today because it's just the regular tail and stuff, but he does have a mouth tail, which is interesting. I've got lots of pictures of him online. He has a tag on Instagram, which is just Dorian Wolf Deer, if you want to check out some pictures of him all together. He was the 6th suit I ever made in 2016. I was 17, I think, at the time. Not too sure, I can't count properly. But yeah, that's Dorian Wolf Deer. So that concludes part 1 of all my fursuits. I hope you enjoyed the video. That was honestly really fun to talk about. I'm actually, now that I'm kind of building up my confidence, I'm really enjoying making videos. Hopefully it's kind of inspiring. I want to inspire people, that's what I want to do. I feel like as a maker, as a creator, an artist in general, my kind of goal in life is to inspire other people to be creative or make something that makes people happy, like fursuits or comics or artwork or whatever. So I guess the purpose of this video, other than just telling a bit of a story about my characters, showing you what characters I own, is to kind of say that anyone can improve, you know? You've got to start somewhere, no matter what. When I made those first suits all those years ago, I just made them because I wanted a suit, but I was too young to buy one. I never in a million years would have thought that years later, now that I'm in my early 20s, that I would actually be making them as part of my job and making a living off fursuits amongst other things, obviously. Hopefully that's inspiring, and it just goes to show that no matter what, yes, fursuit making is hard, yes, it's hard to build up your skills and make stuff, but if you keep doing it and you want to do it and you keep at it, you will improve and you will make something amazing. And it's always great to look back on your old stuff, because if you keep at it, you'll come a long way. And that goes for anything, whether it's fursuits, puppets, literally anything, no matter what, acting, singing, drawing, everything in life. The more you do it, the better you'll get. And I want to inspire other people to make things. That ends part 1. Part 2 is going to be coming soon. I'm going to film it right now, so I'll upload it a few days later. I want to put a bit of a gap in between, or a day later or something. If you want to leave me a like or a subscribe, that is much appreciated. If you want to leave a comment, if you want to ask about any of the characters, any of the suits, or anything like that, feel free to do so and I'll get back to you. If you'd like a commission, feel free to send me a message. That will be a suit that looks a million times better than those that I've just shown, something more like this. So yeah, I will be happy to do that. And that concludes part 1. I will see you all in part 2 very soon.